day, friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of Boomerang. I am Jerry, your personal development coach. I encourage personal growth by looking at how relationships affect how you relate with yourself, with others, and the rest of the world. If you remember in the first show, I went through what I was calling the rude awakening. And after doing my own deep dive, looking for explanations for the experiences I've had in my relationships, I discovered this term called narcissists. By the way, it wasn't the first time for me to encounter it, but I never saw myself as a victim of narcissism. Now, let me just state this. I am no expert in the area of personality disorders or other psychological issues that people might have. I am not an expert. In fact, the only reason I went looking for answers is because I wanted an explanation, some insights into my own anecdotal experiences with people. So in the process of doing that, I went and read material that has been written by authors that are psychologists, are professionals, and have also undertaken some studies. So a lot of the information I have gathered is backed by research. I am not the expert. There are professionals out there that can help you with your personality issues, your psychological traumas. There are people who can do that for you. And what I hope to achieve with Boomerang is also to point you and motivate you and inspire you to start doing your own deep dive. Through the experiences that I have had, the explanations that have come by to explain what was going on, and even my deep dive program, my hope is that you will begin your own journey and perhaps seek professional help in achieving what you'd like to achieve with your life. So, enough about that. Narcissism. I don't need to go into the details about who a narcissist is, but in general, a narcissist is somebody who has got a grandiose sense of self, a grandiose sense of self-importance, and that is all they seek as they develop their relationships. Now, if you want information about narcissism and narcissists, there is so much information in the internet. You'll get the definitions, you'll understand the terms, like for example, what narcissistic supply is, what is a narcissistic injury, what is narcissistic abuse. There is so much data out there. So the question is, are we really surrounded by narcissists? Is it everywhere you turn you'll find a narcissist? I really don't think so. Because when I was doing my own research, I found that psychologists or scientists say that in real terms, narcissists only make up about 5% of the population. If that's the case, then why is it that everybody around me seems to be a narcissist if it's only 5%? If they say it's only 5% of the population that are narcissists, how about all these other people that you're watching and that you're relating with who appear also to be narcissists? As I continue to do my research, I was looking at people who had experiences either with narcissists or even narcissists who recognize that they're narcissists. And the question I was asking, is there any solution to help narcissists? Because remember, my friends are people I cared about, and then we disagreed or whatever happened. So is there no hope of us ever getting to a point where we can have a healthy relationship? And that was my question. But in each time I observed these videos and expert advice, especially those who had experiences with narcissists, at the end of the video they'll say, there's actually really no hope for narcissists in the sense that they will not change unless they're willing to change. There's truth to that. But in many instances, they'll say, cut the narcissist off, go and develop a relationship with somebody else, look for a relationship that's healthier, try and relate with people who are a bit more balanced and what have you, and just let the narcissist be. That's the point at which I differed. Because I said, these are human beings, these are people we care about. What if this narcissist is your mother? You can't get rid of her. What if the narcissist is your child, or your husband, or your sister? What if you are in a relationship with somebody that you cannot terminate, but they exhibit those traits? What do you do? So I decided to find out why and how does someone become a narcissist? So as I was looking into my research, or the research that I was doing, I found that scientists say it could either be genetic. The other thing that they also say, it could be neurobiological, meaning the connection between the brain behavior and the thinking, how you think. So there's a connection between your brain, your behavior, and thinking. The last one they say is actually your upbringing or your environment. One of the things I've come to appreciate is that we live in a broken world. There are certain things that contribute to it, and I'll read them out based on what I have seen and researched. The number of hours we spend on social media or TV and such like platforms, we're spending a lot more time on those platforms. Close friends and family have also moved away. In most instances where that happens is because people are looking for greener pastures, or people are moving away to go to school and perhaps they never come back home. You find that a lot of people these days have no one to turn to when they're in a crisis. And that is evident because how much information do we see on social media about what people are going through? It's because there's no place to go and actually do that which is safe. Family members hardly eat together anymore, and we don't share meals anymore. Parents are overwhelmed with too many commitments. School fees, mortgage, you've got a side hustle. You're just so busy trying to make things work. In fact, there's a friend of mine who always says this, that you can get into the rat race and you keep running until you become a rat. And finally, churches calling themselves the family of God and not acting like it. There's enough evidence of that for us to see. So even the churches are not safe havens. So, if you look at the internet, the usage of the word narcissist or narcissism has sharply increased since 2019. I wonder, did COVID have something to do with it? Because what does all these things, these contributing factors do? They are pulling us more into isolation. And when you're in an isolated environment, when you're isolated, then you have all the time to create your own ideas of what's going on. And the more isolated you are and insular, then it becomes very difficult to relate with people because your experiences are just based on what you are seeing within your own box. For us to understand anything, we need to be able to define it. It's much easier to label than it is to understand. For example, when you find somebody who is always drinking, they're just, affected by substance abuse. Every time they're in problems, they just run to their substance, whatever it is, alcohol, drugs, or whatever. In fact, it sometimes goes as far as addiction to food, addiction to sex. There's all these things, addictions. And you keep asking yourself, what is wrong with this person? Why do they keep returning to this? Why do they keep returning to this? Isn't it much easier to just say, that's a drunk and move on with your life? So what I decided to do, rather than calling them narcissists, labeling them that, what I decided to do was to find out, as I was doing my research, find out at what point does somebody become a narcissist? What happens? And I found this explanation, which I think really gave me deep insights into what happens. So I'd like you to imagine a circle, a round circle. At the center of that circle is a child. This circle represents their immediate family. I would like you to put another circle on the outside, an outer circle. That represents the extended family. Then put another circle out. That represents the community and culture they come from. So think about that. This child, when they're born, has their family, the extended family, and the community and their culture. All these institutions contribute to how this child grows up. They give this child a sense of belonging. They also give this child an environment from which they can recover from trauma. They are also supposed to give you an environment where you learn to receive things. They're supposed to give and you should receive. You're a child, you're growing up. So the family, the extended family, and the community all contribute to the kind of person you become. What happens when the community fails? Like I told you, we come from a broken world. So families and communities can fail. If that happens, other institutions, for example, like the church, should step in. But they can also fail. So, what happens when that is the occurrence in this child's life? And this is how narcissism develops. When a child has been denied what it is they're supposed to have in their years of growing up, then they form a wall of protection around themselves. So, right inside that circle, where the child is the family. So, in between the child and the family, they develop another defense mechanism, a wall around them, which is a mirror. So in that mirror, they reflect the image of themselves. What they think of themselves is reflected back to them by that mirror. So it doesn't matter what you tell a narcissist, all they're going to do is look at that mirror and see what they want to see. So it becomes difficult now for the family, for the community, or an extended family to try and help this child deal with difficult times or whatever traumas they suffer from. So every time we try to point out something, the narcissist will only look at the mirror and see the image of themselves that they would like to see. Because that's the only way they can feel comfortable with themselves. If you remember, we talked about in the beginning, the false identity. This mirror is what represents that false identity. So what happens if you want to penetrate? The only thing you can do is shatter that mirror. And that is normally a very traumatic experience for the narcissist. Extremely traumatic. Because you're taking away that wall of protection, and you're also taking away the reflection of themselves, the way they want to see themselves. Once that mirror is shattered, they become exposed. And it can be a dangerous situation in some cases because people can react differently when they have been exposed. Others might go and actually want to resolve their issues, or some may even decide to just rebuild the mirror. Unfortunately, that mirror will have cracks, so they'll still not be able to see the reflection of themselves in the way that they had before. And that, in my mind, or in my opinion, is now when we talk about the narcissistic injury. They get injured because now the wall has been shattered, the glass has been broken. Now I explain this better in deep dive. This is just how I see things, but I will explain it a lot better in deep dive because there are many things that are connected to how this child sees things, why they build that mirror, what type of trauma, at what point in your age does this trauma occur. So I'd like to thank you for sticking with me in this episode. It's been a little complex. I've tried to explain complex issues in a very simple way. Like I said, it's better done during deep dive. But I'd like you to remember this, that maturity is really not a factor of age. You can be chronologically a certain age, but emotionally, you could be a child. And in many cases, that's what we're dealing with. So, see you at the deep dive. Welcome to the beginning of your life. And in the meantime, may restoration be your portion. Peace out.